Just as Mamdani is set to meet with Trump in the Oval Office today, the House has indeed voted to condemn socialism. Aisha Hosni joining us now from Capitol Hill. Aisha, the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, how did he vote?
He actually voted yes in favor of condemning socialism. He was in favor of this resolution. And I will tell you that the entire Democratic leadership also voted yes along with him, which was a big surprise. And the Democrats were pretty evenly split. About 98 of them voted against this. 85 Democrats voted yes. It's a big message, huge message to Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani as he makes his way to the White House later today. And when he was asked about it actually at the airport, Stuart, about Congress voting to condemn socialism, he said, look, I'm just focused on the issues of New Yorkers in New York. So this resolution, Stuart, was brought to you today by Florida Republican Maria Salazar. She is the daughter of Cuban exiles, and her resolution declared that Congress denounces socialism in all its forms. Well, several Democrats were making the argument that this text was just too broad, it was too vague, that it would encompass social programs like Social Security, Medicare, SNAP, even fire departments, public parks, and they did not want to denounce it.
So I cannot vote for a resolution that can be interpreted as condemning Medicare as a socialist policy.
Those are social programs. That is not that socialism is going to be the ideology that we're going to be following. Socialism is tied to communism, period.
And if you thought that we were done with socialism, think again. Axios reports that D.C. Councilwoman Janice Lewis-George, a self-proclaimed Democrat socialist, is planning to launch a Mamdani-style run for mayor of the district. So we will see how Congress and really the president feel about a potential Democrat socialist mayor here in the district.
It's fascinating, and you are loving every minute of it. I can tell.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. Thanks, Aisha. Republican New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis joins us now. Congresswoman, I've been editorializing this morning, that Trump should not give Mamdani taxpayer money because he's going to ruin New York. But if he denies money to New York, your constituents get hurt. What do you say?
Well, look, I think that it's one thing to say we're not going to give money to fund a socialist and communist agenda. We're not going to give money so New York City can purchase private properties and turn them into communes, or purchase supermarkets and have them be government run, or seize the means of production. Those are the things that Mamdani wants. However, when it comes to public safety, counterterrorism, public housing, transportation infrastructure, and hospitals, we're going to fight for our fair share of taxpayer money. And so I've had this fight with some of my colleagues already here in the House, because they do want to punish New York City, because half of the voters voted for this guy. But guess what? The other half didn't, and we shouldn't suffer as a result. And I'm going to be, as the only New York City member representing our city in Washington, fighting to make sure that New York City gets what it needs, but at the same time pushing back on Mamdani's crazy radical agenda.
Fair enough. Congresswoman, a New York City synagogue became the target of an anti-Semitic mob Wednesday night. About 200 people hurled insults and made threats at a Jewish group trying to get into the synagogue. You're on the House Republican Israel caucus. You worry that things like this could get worse in New York City under Mamdani?
Well, look, certainly he has had his own rhetoric that has been anti-Israel and anti-Semitic. And, you know, the day after the election, there were swastikas painted on a school that serves constituents of mine. It's just outside my district, in Hakeem Jeffries' district. And we went out there and we condemned this immediately, and it's important that we condemn this, all leaders, Republicans and Democrats, because I am concerned about a rise in anti-Semitism and some of these bad actors who align themselves with Hamas, using this as an opportunity, thinking they got some type of cover from Mamdani being the mayor. So we can't allow these people to feel empowered to be able to do this and to attack, whether it's verbally or physically, their Jewish neighbors.
What do you think of the vote in the House just an hour or so ago, voting to condemn socialism? It totally split the Democrats.
It did, and I spoke on the House floor, and I made the point that he calls himself a socialist. You know who else called themselves socialist? Well, Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, and they did the exact same things that Mamdani says he wants to do. They did seize the means of production, and it led to hyperinflation and to economic collapse. They did take over supermarkets to have them government run, and it led to the shelves being empty and people starving to the point where Venezuelans lost on average 19 to 24 pounds. They did do a lot of the things, even this free universal health care push, they promised the people that, and guess what? Now they don't have doctors, they don't have medical supplies, and they don't have medication, and it's a horror show. So it's important to point out how socialism has failed in other countries. New York City opted to learn the hard way what socialism is. It would have been better if they just looked to Venezuela or picked up a history book to see where it failed everywhere, including my mother's homeland of Cuba. And communism, by the way, is no different. It's worse, right? But socialism is the first step to communism. Socialism is communist light. And the Democrats, unfortunately, spent an hour on the floor defending socialism, and then 100 of them couldn't vote to condemn it, and that is shameful. It tells you exactly where the Democrat Party is right now.
Yeah,
they've embraced socialism.
It's going in that direction. It looks like it for sure. Congresswoman, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for being with us today. We appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank you.